So welcome to your first training on how to manage your time better. For some of you, this is the whole reason that you're here, and for others of you, it will give you some tips on how to make better use of your time so you can spend more time working on your goal. This week, I'm going to share the top tips that I teach my corporate clients. And whether you're a stay-at-home mom working from home in lockdown or your hours are set for you at work, you can apply these ideas to become more organized. In this video, I'm going to show you how to decide exactly what you need to get done and how to prioritize that list. And then in the next video, I'll get specific on how you actually schedule your time. And then in the third video, I'll give you some tips on how you can maximize your time each day. So the first thing that we need to talk about is the difference between urgent and important. An urgent task requires immediate action or attention and has a very close deadline. Urgent things are things like, your kids get sick and you have to take them to the doctor, you have to cover for a co-worker who can't make it to work, or you have a report that's due this week that maybe you put off. Important means that it's something of great significance or value, and it's likely to have a profound effect on the success, survival, or your well-being. That's the dictionary definition. So your goal is definitely important, but because the deadline often isn't close for a goal, it's not urgent and it's not critical. And so therefore you push all those things that you want to achieve way down your list and you deal with urgent things instead. So if you don't plan in advance, you're going to find many of the things that you work on are urgent just because they got left to the last minute. But when you decide your priorities and you plan your time each week, you can take care of things before they become urgent. And this is going to allow you a lot more time to work on the things that get you closer to your goal. So how do you decide what is urgent and what is important? It is the mind flush. You are going to hear me talk about the mind flush so much. You completed one at the beginning of the How to Hit Your Goal workbook, and I encourage you to do one every single week. I sit down on a Sunday and I do a mind flush and I plan my week. Sometimes I spend a long time on it, sometimes I just do it in a rush, but the more you do a mind flush, the better you get at it. And for the next 5 weeks, I want you to make time each week to really sit and think about what you want to achieve in the next week during the challenge, and then add in a few things that you want to get done, by the end of 2020, and start thinking about some things you want to achieve in 2021. Schedule this time on your calendar and set an alarm so that you know that on Saturday at 4 p.m. you plan to do your mind flush. It really is worth it. I also suggest sometimes that you do like a work mind flush and a everything else mind flush. It just helps you compartmentalize your time a little better. I always have two because the things that I do with work are very different for the goals that I have for home. So if you want to right now, if you want to stop the video and go and do your mind flush and then come back and I will show you what you need to do with everything that is on your list. Okay. So now you should have your mind flush in front of you. It'll have some things for this week, next week, some things for in the future, and it may even have some of the things that you had on that Think Big list, because I want you to start thinking a lot bigger. So this is where the urgent versus important comes in. You need to prioritize everything on your list so that you can take care of the urgent things, but you can also make time for your important tasks, because they're the ones that are going to move your life forward and get you closer to your goal. But while I want you to focus on hitting your goal, I'm also very realistic. The holiday season is crazy, and the younger your kids are, the busier you're going to be. So if you've listed out everything that you need to get done in the next few weeks, that list is going to be long. So the first thing that we need to deal with on that list are all those shoulds. They're the things that you probably won't actually ever get done, but you just feel like you should do them. When I lived in Georgia, I was that mom who did everything. I did things to make memories for my children. I did things to make it feel like I was making a difference, but I also did a lot of things that I felt I should do. Do I regret it? No, not at all, because I don't believe that you should live your life with regrets. But I do live my life very differently in California, because I've learned that when your life is filled with a whole load of things that you feel you should do, it is just exhausting. So I want you to take a red pen and I want you to circle everything that's on your mind flush that is a should. When you've done that, we're going to categorize them into 3 things. Some of those shoulds you're just going to have to get done. You've volunteered at your kid's school, or you volunteered for a project at work or something like that, and there's no way you can get out of it. You're just going to have to figure out a time to get that should done. And then next time, don't say yes and don't sign up for it again. Then look at some of the other shoulds. What can you delegate? If it's things at home, I like to have a clean house, but I don't actually particularly enjoy cleaning. So there's a lot of shoulds for cleaning my house on there, and I just delegate those to my kids. There may be some shoulds that you've signed up for certain things, volunteer positions, and you may be able to delegate them. I once heard a very wise saying that when you say no to something, it allows someone else to say yes. So it could be if you can delegate a work project or something, a sports team or a school project that you've volunteered for, if you delegate it to someone else, they will love the opportunity to learn, to be important, to feel responsible, and it gets rid of one of those shoulds on your list. And then there's the third kind of should. Those are the things that you decide you should do, but you know you'll never get actually around to doing them. I always like the rule that if there's a less than 8 out of 10 chance that you're actually going to do something, take it off your list. A lot of the time when I feel I should do something, I will just, particularly if it's family, I'll just ask my family. If I feel I should cook dinner but I really don't want to, I'll ask my family if they're okay with me making a sandwich. And most of the time they really don't care. I just feel I should cook them dinner. So get rid of all of those things that you feel you should do that no one cares about. So now your list should be a little bit smaller. The next thing you need to look at doing is, can you group some of those tasks together? If you have a mind flush for work, that's quite easy. You can group replying to emails rather than replying to emails as they come in. If you do something like, if your job involves a lot of calling or invoicing or scheduling, you can group those tasks so that you make all your calls in the morning and then you complete all the paperwork in the afternoon. Home, I find I spend a lot of time making doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, hairdresser's appointments, all those kind of things, paying bills, dealing with household tasks. So instead of scattering those throughout the week or the month, I set aside one morning each month where I take care of all of those things. So look at your mind flush. What are the tasks that you can group together? The next thing that you need to do when you've got rid of your shoulds and you've grouped tasks together is look at things that you can do at once. For example, if I'm cooking, sometimes I'll cook double quantities and I'll freeze it because then I have a meal for next week that I can defrost. Or if I'm cooking, I'll make my kids' lunch for tomorrow, or I'll prep my own lunch. If you are sorting your garage or your basement, could you sort through some of those boxes while you're watching TV? Having said that, that I want you to try and combine things where possible. I am not a fan of multitasking. The things that I group together are kind of easy, mindless tasks. Because if you are doing something really important, it needs your full focus. You've probably had times where you tried to sort your garage and the kids are running around and maybe you're talking on the phone to a friend and you're not focusing on what needs to get done. I used to work out in front of the TV using an app, and then I found out that I wasn't working out hard enough. So I stopped doing that, and I now go to the gym because hitting my goal requires that I give full focus to my workout. So if you can possibly combine two mindless kind of tasks at once, do that, and that will also allow your mind flush list to be a little bit more prioritized. Okay, so we've now gone through your mind flush. You've created your mind flush. You've crossed off or delegated all the shoulds. You've grouped similar tasks together, and you've also combined easy tasks. Now you need to actually prioritize what is left. If this is your first time doing a mind flush or creating something more structured than just a to-do list, you may have a lot of urgent things on your list that need to get done this week. But the more often you do this, the fewer urgent things you'll have on the list and the more time you can spend on important tasks. So look at your list and circle all the things that need to get done this week. And then look at the list again and see if there's anything that's due next week that you need to work on this week. So it could be work projects that are due, or kids, projects for school that need to be worked on this week that are due next week, and then circle those. If it is not due this week or next week, then forget about it for right now. And then look at those circled tasks. which is the most urgent, which is the most important, and I want you just to number them from number one, which is your most important priority, to the end of the list of things you have to get done this week. The way that you prioritize is up to you. You could decide that your number one priority is to make 3 or 4 quick appointments or calls just to get them off your list. Or you could decide that finishing up that big project at work is the most important, and it may take you several days, but you're going to prioritize that until it's done because it bothers you the most. However you prioritize is up to you. You know, is it in terms of impact, or is it in terms of just getting it off your list? And that's it. You have created your list of priorities for the week. But you're not quite done yet, because using that same philosophy, those same rules for organizing your mind flush, I want you to go back to the mind flush that you did for hitting your goal. When you go back and look at that, you may be able to add some of those goals, some of the priorities from your goal hitting list to your mind flush for this week. There's certain things that you know you need to get done to be able to hit your goal. You can also look through that mind flush that you did to hit your goal and see if you have any shoulds on there. If your goal is weight loss, there's always a lot of shoulds on there. I always had, you know, I should eat kale, and then I took it off my list. I hate kale. I will never eat kale. And so instead I took it off my should list for weight loss and substituted spinach, which I actually quite like. Another example could be when you're sorting out your garage. You may have a treadmill or sports equipment or weights or something like that that you feel you should keep in your garage, you know, so that one day you'll work out. But you know you're never going to work out in your garage. You're never going to use that treadmill. Get rid of that should on your list. Go sell it. Sell all that equipment. You will be much happier when you walk into your garage and it's clear and it's nice. And if you put that money from selling the treadmill towards some tennis shoes, you may go for a walk with your kids and get, you know, the exercise that way. So you've taken it off your should list, but you are still prioritizing your goal. So once you've done that, go through the list of all the ways that you thought you could hit your goal, see if you can add to it, see if you can combine things, see if you can group tasks on your goal hitting mind flush, and then see if you can put some of those things from your goal hitting mind flush onto your mind flush for this week. And my final word of advice, when you look at your goal hitting mind flush, don't take things off your list just because it sounds hard. I have doing a handstand against a wall, I have climbing a rope, I have swinging across monkey bars and running a 5K in 20 minutes on my goal hitting list, because those are all things that I really want to achieve. They're not shoulds. I can't do any of them right now, but I plan on being able to do them one day, so they stay on my goal hitting list. What you will never see on my goal hitting list is running a half marathon. I have no interest in running a half marathon or deadlifting or squatting hundreds of pounds, because that doesn't sound like fun to me. So that's a lot of information, but I want you to look at your mind flush, the one for hitting your goal and also the one that you've created for this week. Make sure that you've taken rid of all of the shoulds, you've grouped tasks, and you've also combined tasks wherever possible, and then you have prioritized it. So a lot of information, and I will see you in the next video when we talk about how you actually get those scheduled on your calendar.